poop, spit, blood. I keep thinking the same thing over and over again. Poop, spit, blood. Hey, welcome to be live on Facebook with my friend Pam Jacobson. Poop, spit, blood. Actually, really what we're talking about is immune health.
Yes.
Right? So I'm doing just something really fun here. Pam Jacobson, who I've known for several years, has been my wife's coach, my coach when it comes to health and vitality. If you've heard the story before, you know that she helped Kathy tremendously going through breast cancer, through radiation, through chemo, which, you know, knock on wood, we wish on no one. But Pam, right now in the middle of COVID, there's just a lot of people out there that are, you know, probably put on the COVID-19. Yeah. Like myself and others, you know, you've got a concern in the back of your mind. Am I doing enough to make sure that I'm staying healthy? Talking to my mom yesterday, who's 75, and my stepdad, who's 80, who's had lots of different surgeries. He's like your ideal client, right? Petrified to leave the house. What can he do? So poop, spit, blood, if you're watching with us live. Here's what I wrote down. This show's really for anybody, if you're watching right now, if you have a health issue, or you know someone who has a health issue and you want some insight, if you want to lose weight, right? Or you know someone who needs to lose weight, or you want to do whatever it takes, as I do, just to increase my immune health. So to help us do that, I've got Pam Jacobson here for my friends that are just checking in live on Facebook. So Pam, maybe just give, you know, you've done so many events with me, live speeches. I think have we done a Facebook Live yet?
I believe we have one other time.
Well, take a second and just like, who is Pam Jacobson? So they get a sense of like who you are and why, you know, Kath and I have so much mad respect and love. And I say all of our level 10 health community. So share.
Well, for those who have not met me at this point, my entire career has been in health and wellness. And I think initially I was trained in conventional medicine, which is the healthcare system that most of you all know, the most about. And it was through my own health issues that I got led into another direction, looking more on the wellness and prevention side of things. And I think really coming into my own understanding of the responsibility that I have, to take care of myself, to be the one, because there isn't another advocate for your health other than yourself. So for the last 20 years, I've really been focused in the area of wellness and functional medicine, which means restoring normal body function.
Yes.
So I'm board certified in functional medicine. I'm master's trained in Chinese medicine. I have a background in Western medicine. So today I work with people all over the country, helping them to do just that, to identify their health baseline and kind of restore normal function and boost their immunity. And
you say it like it's no big deal, but I know, like, for example, Laura Gale, who I'll mention later, Jimmy J, who's lost 100 pounds, right? 100 pounds has worked out 365 days in a row. And so big shout out to Jimmy if you're watching.
Proud.
So I think there's three questions that I want to ask you for the people that are watching. Like, I'm always asking myself, like, first of all, how do I even know if I have immune health? Right? Like, we think about it like when our kids were young. Look at my wife, who was over there, by the way. Like, and we were constantly trying to figure out, like, how do you get them to avoid catching all the colds that they would get? And now more than ever, there's a much bigger issue called COVID-19. And all you have to do is just, like, I don't read the news, but I hear that it's just in the news every single day, nonstop. Cases are spiking. Joe Rogan, who's a huge advocate of health and vitality, comes out and says, the number one thing you can do is increase your immune health. And most people say, what is that? So I wrote down, how do I figure it out? And what do I do to improve it? Because I know you can answer the question.
Yeah. Well, I think first, figuring it out can be the tricky part, right? We are all born equipped with an immune system that is capable of protecting us from most things that we're going to encounter throughout our life. But unfortunately, especially American lifestyle is one that degrades that immune health, right? Things like poor diet and lack of sleep and not managing your stress response, not exercising. Those things really damage immune health. And the way that you know whether or not your immune health is adequate to protect you, especially in COVID, is two ways. First of all, your body is just a big messaging system, right? It's constantly giving you messages, right? Feedback. Am I sleeping well? Is my energy good? What about my weight? Do I feel badly after I exercise, right? So there's first and foremost, I think the messages that you get that we've all become really good at ignoring, right?
But
And
Pam,
adapting to.
I'll say at my age, not your age, but at my but I'm 50 now. Like my body hurts all the time. It doesn't, but you know what I mean? But we
Right.
hear that all the time from people.
Right,
Is that
exactly.
the signal? Like
Yeah,
I shouldn't just say, but I'm 40,
no.
I'm 60, my body hurts all the time. It's not supposed to
Truly.
hurt all the
No,
time.
truly. Age is just a number, guys. That you should not be in pain. You should not be sleeping poorly. Your energy should not be low. I don't care if you're 20 or you're 80. If you are in optimal health, these are not going to be your problems. But we're led to believe that it's a
Yeah.
process of aging, that this is the way we're supposed to feel. And we just accept that, right? And live these mediocre lives, not listening to the most important messaging system we have, which is our body, that tells us every day if things are working or not, or if our immune system is healthy.
So what can they do?
Well, I think you had asked, in terms of
How do I check it
knowing
first?
my
Yeah.
immune baseline is, the poop, the spit, and the blood, right? That's what I do with my clients.
Yeah.
Is help them understand now that we've got these symptoms going on, or you just suspect maybe that your immune system's not great. You can check. We can look at it right through these various tests.
Yes.
Right? I can tell you what your immune baseline is. And then once we know that, then we have a really good idea of what you need to do behavior-wise, what are
Yes.
the most important things, and whether or not you need any kind of treatment or supplemental support. Is there function that's already declining that we might need to address? But for the majority of us, it really is just understanding those numbers and putting into place the daily regimen, the habits, the processes that you can do each day to improve your immune health, optimize your health baseline. And they're not rocket science.
But
right?
but most people, what they do is they get on the scale and they say, okay, I weigh too much. I need to do something about it. Some people say my clothes don't fit, or I'm achy, or I'm tired. I'm not sleeping well. So we keep saying poop, spit, blood. And so help people understand, like the poop is your digestion,
Yes.
right? Kind of break down each, because
Okay.
yes, someone's going to say like, right, oh my God, this is so radical. They're talking about poop on a live Facebook show, or, like, oh, poop is so like, I'm going to give my poop to someone. Oh my, people think that's radical. You know what I think is radical? Chemotherapy,
Right.
having to have surgery, become morbidly obese, watching a family member destroy their life because they're unwilling to. I think that stuff's radical.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Having been in a situation where I had my own significant health issues, I agree with Tom. Choose your hard, right? That's way
Choose your
harder,
hard.
in my
Yep.
opinion. So the testing, really, I'm looking kind of tip to tail. When I do
Mhm.
blood, spit, and the poop test, we're looking at all of the major body systems that are giving input to, basically help us understand the health baseline. So the poop test is looking at probably what is the most important baseline body system that you have, which is your digestive system, right? This is the fuel tank for the body. If we don't get the nutrients from food or from supplements that you're taking, or medications maybe that you're already on, if we're not able to break down and assimilate those properly, there's no way we can have good health. The cellular system of the body depends on what comes through that digestive system. And most of you probably don't know this, but your immune system, more than 75% of that is housed inside the digestive system.
Yes.
Because it's there to make sure that anything you bring in from the outside world doesn't get into your body unless it's gone through the immune system's check first. So most of it's housed there. So that poop test is critically important. It tells us everything about whether or not you're adequately breaking down the food that you're eating, whether that nutritional information is getting to the cellular structure where it needs to go. And more importantly, it is the direct connection with the rest of the body's function. It has a direct connection to the brain. If you've listened to Dan Amon, right?
Sure.
He's been on your show, talks about the importance of that. So we have to look at the digestive system, and the poop is basically the outcome of that, right? So we can see everything that happened in that system when we really look at what goes on in the poop. The spit test is more looking at hormonal balance, particularly adrenal hormones.
Right.
Which most of us don't know a lot about and don't recognize that forms the base for the hormonal control of the whole body, right? Your blood sugar control, your the ability for even the brain to work properly relies on good adrenal hormone balance. And what most of us don't understand is that system is responsible for our survival, producing stress hormone, but it's also responsible for some really important hormones that do a lot of other things. So when we're out of balance with our stress, this system gets very stressed and causes a lot of issues.
Okay,
with function.
so I know I started this by saying if it's someone that you know, but I want to stress to you right now watching, Pam, every single person watching live with us and in the future, their adrenals have been completely wiped out because they compressed. Real estate closed, call it, middle end of March.
Right.
We were all stay at home. Everybody ate too much and drank too much and did all that stuff. But for these guys and gals, what happened is whether it was April, May, or June, they compressed months and months and months of selling activity into a short amount of time.
Right.
And most of them are working 12, 15, 16. And I'm working, meaning you're doing searches for buyers at 11 o'clock at night because the market's so bananas. And the number one thing I'm getting from people right now is I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I say to them, your adrenals are shot.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
I've only learned that spending time with you because
Right.
I go through the same thing. I finish a seminar and I'm like completely wiped out.
Right.
Right. But they're literally doing that every day.
Right.
With buyers and sellers and tension. So, all right. So what's the last one? Because we're going to get into what you do, obviously.
Yeah. The last one is the blood. And the blood really, we can see more information about the immune system. We can see what's happening in the chemistry of the body, the liver, the kidneys. We can get a lot of information about inflammation. So the blood gives us an overall picture of kind of all of the important chemistry of the body. We can look at your lipids, things like heart disease is very apparent in the blood, but especially your inflammatory process and blood sugar control. So between the three, we get a really good overall view of the health baseline. And it really helps us set the stage for what do we need to do behavior wise, treatment wise.
So you've helped a lot of our clients and hundreds of our clients with this test in particular. So they can get this test through you. They could probably go to their doctor. Maybe there's a local person. Obviously, they know I recommend you.
Right.
So what's the best way for them? If they're interested, whether it's for them, it could be for their kid, it could be for their uncle, their parents. I don't want to say names of clients that we've done this with recently that their body's just a disaster, right? And awareness is the first step of change.
Yes, it is.
When you see all your levels all over the place, you're like, I am the cause and I can do something about it. But that awareness is scary for some people. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, if you're interested in working directly with me, it's easy to reach me. It's just pam@level10health.com. And I do work with clients all over the country.
Yep.
And I am able to help you get that testing done all over the country.
Yep.
So there are obviously local practitioners and other folks. A lot of your conventional physicians are not trained in or in the business of restoring function. They're there for disease identification. So they are in most cases not going to order things like a stool test or a saliva test. But I can, as I said, work with people all over the country in a couple of different ways, right?
Yeah.
We can do just a health assessment, looking at the baseline. As Tom mentioned, getting that evidence, that paper that shows you very objectively what's going on can be a huge, huge help in, I think, helping a person create their why. Once you see it on paper, you can't unsee that, right? And so I find it to be extremely motivational for helping a person to, kind of solidify their why and create the behavioral change that's needed.
Right.
And so,
rather than what most people do, they wait until their doctor goes, you're running out of time. You need to make a change now.
Right.
And watch, I know for a lot of us out there. So Kath, how many times have we done this test? Every time you come in, you're like, okay, here's the you got to do the poop test again. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
I think 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, three or four times. But again, I'll share with you guys, I got exposed to COVID. And even though I was asymptomatic, right, I got exposed. And all of a sudden I said, let's do the test again. And my levels were just out of control, right? And even though I didn't feel bad, when I saw that, it still kicks in this motivation of I need to do better.
Yeah.
I need to exercise more. I need to get more rest. I'm now at almost 7.5 hours a night of sleep.
Good for you.
I mean, so for the people that are watching, you said, food, stress, and sleep. I was sleeping 4 hours a night from probably 25 until probably 42. literally
Wow.
thinking, like I had this like story in my head, I'll sleep when I die, until one of my doctor buddies says, well, you're going to die soon. So it's okay. You'll be able to make up for that.
It's so true.
When I saw those most recent results doing all three of the tests, then I was like, okay, wow. And even though, I think maybe you could speak to it because it was so erratic. We think COVID maybe had something to do with that.
Yeah,
Speak
it
to that.
definitely did. That's the one thing that we are seeing with this virus is that it's not like just any other flu virus that we've had in the past. This has long-term impact on our health, even for somebody who didn't have really any symptoms from the virus itself. We still see the impact on some major function in the body, liver function, especially lipid processing. So it's very important, I think, first and foremost, for you to take the responsibility to be more resilient and have better immune health to avoid getting the virus. But if you're somebody who's had it and maybe you're past it, or you had a mild case, didn't have a lot of symptoms, it does not mean that it didn't affect your health function in some way. So I would say, especially for that group of people out there that might be watching, I would strongly recommend doing a health baseline, check
For me, just be able to see the side-by-side comparison. And then go back to what we did down in San Diego to look at all three of those. And it's kind of like, normal, all over the place.
Right.
And I was like, but I feel normal.
Right.
But if it's doing this, something was going on in here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the next one, which I think is important for a lot of people. And it's probably one of the most measurable ways you have helped people in our community, right? So I not jokingly, because it's a very serious subject, but I say a lot of people during COVID-19 put on the COVID-19.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, here we are 67 days away from from the end of the year, new year, new you. This is the time that we say, okay, I'm going to do it. But the world's a little bit different right now. So what advice do you have for the person and it could be someone that they love, that they know that person wants to lose a little weight so they can do something about it. They can maybe do a better job controlling the environment, or they directly want to do it.
Right. Well, I think that the obvious answer to that is to manage your nutrition and your exercise. But I want to be really clear. The holidays are a uniquely stressful time for most of us anyway.
Right.
And in the holidays of 2020, which will go down in history as probably at least in my lifetime, I'm 59, as the most stressful year that any of us have ever experienced.
I agree.
It's going to be really challenging to change your weight status if you are not doing something on a daily basis to mitigate stress response. And the reason for that is because
mitigate stress response,
right?
Versus like, I'm stressed, have a glass of wine. I'm stressed, eat some sugar. I'm stressed, have something salty.
Right.
Right.
Because the primitive response of the body, right? The primitive survival response would be similar to you being in a jungle with a lion chasing you. If you think about that for a minute, if I'm in a jungle 24 hours a day and a lion is chasing me, I am going to need a lot of quick sugars and carbohydrates to keep moving. So that's why you will automatically crave more sugar. And I'm not going to be very motivated to exercise because I'm already running in the jungle.
Well, you're feeling
right.
So
as much as you may make the effort at diet and exercise, if we're not also making the effort at not getting rid of the stress, let's be clear, that's not what we're talking about. It's about managing the response to stress. And that's things like meditation, yoga, calming types of activities, getting enough sleep. Right, exactly. And I don't think that gets enough press because so many people, Dr. Fung has a book out, Obesity Code, and he talks about it in there. It's a lot of it's hormonal imbalance due to stress. Right. So my recommendation for all of you as we pass through the gateway to the holidays, which is Halloween coming up, is to have daily practice for managing stress response. It doesn't have to take up a big portion of your day, but doing something like meditation, there's lots of easy apps to use, yoga, anything that's a calming type of activity, but the key is to be consistent. And then employ reasonable dietary approach, right? You don't restrict yourself from having treats here and there, but following something like the Level 10 Health's meal plan, right? The salad plate scenario, and moving your body in some way, right? Those would be a reasonable approach to getting through the holiday. And I think beginning to maybe shed a little bit of the COVID gain that a lot of us have suffered.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Everyone watching, write this down. My wife and her team came up with this cool little thing. So November 2nd through the 27th, our whole community, like our whole office, all of our coaches, everyone's receiving the information on this. What we're going to do is we're going to walk together from November 2nd to the 27th. You may say, well, wait, walk together. We're all over the world. Yes, there's an app, right? So if you go to level 10, spell that TEN health.com/register, level10health.com/register. It's free for you to do, even though we're going to pay for you to do the app, right? My wife and myself are basically, we're putting this on because it's that time of the year
Right.
where people need to move. Right. And, we're going to be in
Absolutely.
Dallas and it's going to be colder. We don't care. Go outside, put a jacket on, do what you got to do.
Right.
Walk in the snow if you must. But November 2nd through the 27th, this whole community, we're going to get together. We're going to walk. We're going to get some movement. It'll be tracking and measuring. It'll be competitive. It'll be fun. So level10health.com/register. When you do, you're going to see that we're basically promoting 3 charities or supporting
Right.
3 charities. So pediatric cancer, suicide prevention, and here we are in Southern California, wildfire relief, which there's
Crazy.
a fire this morning.
Right.
So my wife and I are going to donate $5,000 to each one of those charities. And then if you choose to donate, awesome. If you don't, all good. But we just feel like we're going to get ourselves moving. We're going to get our steps in. We're going to be be competitive, get the community fired up, and then, make a difference always.
End the year on a high note.
Absolutely. Well, at least get through, the US Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Saying I'm averaging 5, 8, 10, 20,000 steps a day, whatever it is.
Right.
So Pam, I want to read you something and then we'll wrap with the last question. They didn't give it to me. One of our clients, Laura Gale, I don't want to screw this up. She basically she tweeted this out, right? And it said, my daughter was diagnosed with like multiple sclerosis, right? Like you hear that and you just think, there's just nothing about that sounds good.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the tweet. And then she says, but if it wasn't for Pam and the Level 10 Health community, like, I know what I can do to be supportive.
Right.
Like, I know, like, I feel like I'm in control was sort of the message. What do you say to the person that is dealing with an elderly parent or, just a loved one,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm a part of Miracle for Kids, right?
Right.
We're supporting these kids that, like pediatric cancer, right? They're on their deathbed,
Right.
right? So there's support that parent needs to deal with that as well as the kid.
Right.
What advice do you have for the people that just need to be able to support people better and maybe just support themselves?
Right. Well, and that probably my biggest advice would be that you have to start with supporting yourself in order to be fully available to the loved one that you find yourself in a position to need to support. You have to do the work yourself first, right? So you have to fill the well before you can give to another person. And again, it doesn't have to be a difficult process or take a lot of time, but I think those 4 key pillars, right? Making sure you get restorative sleep and you do something every day to manage your stress response and you move your body a little bit and you make reasonable dietary choices, right? Those 4 key elements. That's going to put you in such a better position to be able to support your loved one. And in many cases, the things that you're doing for yourself will be the same things that you help them do for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So
you've also answered, I was thinking like when we were doing live events and, you and I would do something on stage, then you'd be in the back room and there would be a line of 100 people. And every time they weren't easy questions. They weren't like, hey, I want to lose a little weight. It was like,
never easy.
My mom was diagnosed with this, or I have this issue. And you would sit there with those people and just answer all those questions. So one more time, because I know you'll do that for our community. What's your best email? Pam at level 10, spelled out,
Yes,
TEN?
TEN. Pam at level10health.com. Best way to reach me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as we wrap up, guys, I really just wanted to shed some light on this to bring some awareness. If you tag a friend that needs to see that, that's always a good idea. Pam, I just want to thank you because, when, I can remember it because we're literally, here we are almost at November, which was the end of your last chemo, looking at my wife. When she told me I have cancer, the first question was like, okay, who do we know who do we need to get in our corner to get help, right? and you became that person. And I know I've said this on the podcast, I've said it live from the stage, but I just want to thank you. Right? Because I look at my wife over here now with her hair fully grown out and, cancer free. You were just such a massive support in getting her to look at what are the changes that she needed to make. And even though she was, not eating meat and, only having fish, stress became such a major factor for her. And now the, meditation and removing that and more steps, like following your advice has been invaluable. So I just want to say thank you.
You're very welcome.
And for the thousands of people that you've answered questions for, they also like Laura, like she's like, oh my God, Pam, thank you. So just sort of closing thoughts. We're 67 days left between now and the end of the year. Besides going to level10health.com/register, join us in this kind of walkathon, right? Let's all get some steps in. Let's be competitive. Any last sort of closing thoughts for our group?
I would just say, now is the time to take the responsibility that you have to become more resilient, to realize that optimal health that you really deserve, right? We all deserve to be vitally healthy.
Yeah.
And, if anything's in question, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions and I'll guide you and direct you to the right place, right? If it makes sense to work with me, then we'll do that. And if not, then I'll help you find a place to start, but you have to pick a place to start and just do the work.
Yeah. And I think the baseline to me is everything.
Yeah.
Poop, spit, blood. I think that's how we started the show. All right, my friends. So happy Monday. Pam, thank you. Kathy, thank you for arranging this, you and your team, the walks and the steps. Always, I am committed to you at level 10, right? Not just in your business, but in your whole life. So you got 67 days left between now and the end of the year. By the way, fun fact, 21 days to make a habit is an absolute lie, right? It's actually 67 days. And here we are on 67 days. It takes 67 days to develop a habit that's meaningful.
That's right.
10,000 steps a day, having, 3, whatever, big bottles of water, right? Like changing your nutrition, getting more rest. It takes 67 days. So the timing was rather serendipitous.
Yes.
All right. Get to level10health.com/register. Come walk with us. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Have an awesome week. Get on the phone, help some people. 67 days. Let's go.